Hey guys, it's Anne Marie from Sheets That Teach, and I'm coming at you with another new resource. So today it is a standards-based report card grading system of sorts. This is super highly requested, and what I'll be showing you guys to do is basically how to turn this super duper blank looking document into the most beautiful little grade book assignment database you could ever imagine, with so many different collapsible headings, things you want to see, don't want to see. We have numerous subjects, up to 10 subjects. Then we even have student reports that you can generate. You can select any student and get the data you need. Again, collapsible headings with summary reports. And then we even have an assignment database, and you can filter this to have a lot of different really insightful, helpful views. And this is like every single assignment itemized, but again, could be filtered beautifully. And then this is, rather than each individual assignment, it's combining all relevant assignments under the standard it's under and then averaging them. So this is like everyone's average per standard, which is also amazing and could be filtered beautifully. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to really try to split my time between walking through all of the features in the beginning, and then we will dive into how to set it up. So ready? If we're going over the walkthrough, so per usual, every single one of our sheets comes with a Start Here tab, and it has really, really great instructions with screen grabs. It also is always going to have a click here for example that I thought I already linked, but I'll do that right now. There's the written and visual instructions here if you don't want to listen to my voice and just want to shoot your shot with that. Or you can press ×2 and bear with me on the video, because this definitely is a system that works together and you want to understand how it all works. So as always, it's going to come with your general rule of thumb, which is, and you can see it a lot in here too. So anything that is grayed out, like you'll see it a lot in the student report, all of these, standard summary boxes that have that gray in it. And again, gray up here, if it's gray, it has super duper long formulas and you do not need to type anything into it ever. That is like your brain's big signal to not touch it. You're fine. Just keeping that in mind. And then as always, before I even start touching mine, I would go to File, make a copy. But again, we're going to do that after we do a little walkthrough. So we're going to pretend that you've made your copy. Now, what you could do is fill this in. This is meant to be used per marking period or trimester or whatever. So I would really only be thinking about standards domains and standards you're going to be covering within that marking period. And then you would make another one for, again, other marking periods. Or again, what you could do is fill in your setup tab and then make an additional copy. So that way each marking period, you don't have to keep redoing your standards. So you'd fill it in just the setup tab with your students. If you have the same domains and standards all year long, that would be a really, really great idea. So again, you're going to be filling out things like your subjects, your student list. I believe there's room for 50 here. Yes, and there's 50 different possible domains that you can enter. And then there is up to 100 different standard slots. Again, I don't know that anyone's teaching 100 standards in a marking period. If you do, advocate for yourself, contact your admin. That sucks. I'm so sorry. And then over here, so we have a prompting scale and descriptor. So and what a lot of people requested was they wanted to be able to see how heavily a student was supported, because a lot of times students get really high numerical grades, but it's because they had high amounts of supports and we don't really have anything to show that. and it doesn't give a true depiction of mastery. So what I did was I made my descriptors prompting levels. So a 1 would mean like they really didn't have support, that's independent, whereas 4 would be max level prompting, and then I would use this to derive what their final grade is on their report card. However, if you want this to be mastery like it is on the report cards, you can change this around. Like you can change any of these descriptors and these domain ranges. The only thing is, do not change the colors in here. If you wanted to reverse it, you would just change your 4 to a 1, 2, 3, and 4, not changing colors, but for sake of this video, I will be switching it back. And when we go over setup, I will go over additional steps that would need to be taken if you do that. So we have our subjects, students, domains, standards. So again, as you can see, if you have multiple standards within geometry for math, you're going to see math and geometry listed on here more than once. We had to do it that way because we don't know how many you guys want within each standard. Keep in mind, I did do all of this additional editing because when you guys would go to write it in, everything would be white. So if you want that visual grouping, it would involve changing some cell border colors and drop-down menus. We'll get into that more with setup. After I have assigned all my subjects, domains, standards, whatnot, picked my scales, I will then be coming over. Then you have all your subject tabs that are for actual grading. So you have your students, and then each little one of these rectangles that you can expand or collapse is where you're entering the assignment info, and then you can just start grading. You can put their prompting level, and it will automatically color code, and then what their grade was. So again, you can see that although this student is continuously getting like really high grades across the board, they're really heavily supported. So they're not necessarily anywhere near independence or mastery. And then you are going to be able to see the per that assignment, the class average prompting level or support level, and then the average grade for that. The other thing that I really like seeing too is that if you go to this expand collapse button, it is going to expand to show you a view per that student across all assignments and standards. Overall in math, they are at a 3.5 prompting level. So again, not necessarily anywhere close to independence. And then they have a 93. So you can hide and close that when you need to. Another really cool thing that as you are collapsing assignments, you'll notice that it does show you the name of the assignment that you just collapsed. So we love that. We're here for that. And so again, you get one of these for each one of your subjects to enter grades, all giving you the same kind of average stats. Then this really cool feature is the student report. So keep in mind, you can duplicate this tab as many times as you need it to always have a student report ready. But what you do is, again, we have this sheet is really heavy on a lot of the expand collapse buttons, or all the expandable or collapsible groups. So that's just something to keep in mind with this one. I know some people aren't as familiar with that, but again, just to show you a quick example, like you can select any student that you want, and it will then pull up for math every single domain and standard and then relevant assignments with it. So we can see that with Miss Ava, she is doing all her work independently and she's at an 85. So to me, that's she's headed towards great mastery. She's doing absolutely fantastic in this one. We can see with, again, this standard of using area to relate to multiplication, she needed a little more support, but is doing great. So again, I love how this shows you for each standard all the relevant assignments, and then it even so across all standards and domains, her overall grade in math would be an 83 with an average prompting level of about 2. So again, that's meaning she's getting a pretty great score with minimal teacher support. So if I was then putting this on a standards-based report card, I would be putting she's meeting proficiency in a decent amount of those math standards. Well, not that one, but we're not going to talk about it. Okay. So again, you can duplicate that as many times as you need. And then last but not least, the two little databases of sorts at the end. So this looks like a massive amount of information. However, these filter buttons up here are absolutely magical, and you can really derive some specific information from it if you use it the right way. So this one, again, the assignment database is every single assignment entry. So that's why if you were on this one to go to filter by a specific standard, where's the one that about perimeter? Because I know there's a lot of perimeter ones. Okay. Like, that's why, since this one is every single assignment, that's why, even though I wanted to see like one standard, Johnny Smith is still on there for the same standard numerous times. So if you wanted to see how a kid did in like across all the assignments average, you're going to go to the class mastery overview, but this is like per assignment. So this one is much more helpful if you ever need to reset it, you just come back here and you would say select all and it would jump back to normal for you. But this comes in handy when you want to see how the class did on a very specific, let's say the perimeter quiz. Oh wait, so I'm going to go to clear. So I can see that a lot of kids honestly did pretty great on this independently. I have my students that really needed their help. We could say, how did everyone do with area models and array? Everyone needed a lot of support, but overall really high scores over here. I love that. Again, this is going to allow you to see things by a specific assignment if you wanted. If you wanted to do literally just one student, like if we wanted to say Olivia, I think is one of them. This is all of Olivia's assignments and standards, but again, I would probably do this more so on the other one. And we could even cross filter this, guys, like a double filter per se. So we could say we want to see Miss Olivia, but we only want to see her math right now. Again, keeping in mind that there's going to be numerous entries for each of these domains and standards, but again, this is how she's doing in math overall. So you can go ahead and double, even technically like triple filter if you wanted, but you don't. It all depends on which angle you start with, but it's truly a really beautiful way to grab any information you need. We know that there's so many different ways you can look at this. Oh, wrong way. We know that there's so many different ways you can look at this data, and we wanted to give you guys freedom. So this is one of the ways we could do that. Now, again, this is like per every single assignment in your grade book. And now this is every single assignment summarized into like the relevant standard, and then all of those scores and prompting levels averaged across. So now, and the same thing with this one, you can filter by any view you need. So again, say we only wanted to see, let's clear this out. Say we only wanted to see one student. Let's see how Liam's doing. Boom. Literally, you basically just generated his report card for that working period. Okay, so yeah, if you wanted to see by one student, literally that's your report card generator right there. But say you really wanted to see how the class was doing just in writing. Okay, here's how everyone is doing in writing, but wait, let's see how they're doing with writing on, I'm gonna say specifically their narratives. Okay, like we have some kids that still need a higher amount of support over here, but again, most of the class is doing pretty great in that area. So again, it's really great. Do you want to view stuff by assignment, by standard, by student? These two databases really give you the freedom to do all of that. One thing that is also worth mentioning is that On this tab, you don't ever sort A to Z. Or Z to A. It doesn't work because it messes up some hidden formula. So again, really just keep deriving what you need through all of these filters, and remember that you can do it more than once, and then just select all or clear them to reset whatever you need. All right, so that's it for the walkthrough overview of our tool. Now that we've seen this standards-based report card in action and we understand how to use the student report tab, the overall assignment database, and then your class mastery overview, we're going to go ahead and build one from the ground up. So I know I highlighted this earlier. I always love leaving one fully blank to act as my template, and then I'll complete one with just the setup tab that will become my grading system for that school year. So I'm just going to say, and then again, doing that way because that means at the start of each marking period, I won't have to re-enter all the student names, subjects, domains, and standards. So ready, we're gonna go right here to setup, and this is, again, whatever you're doing, you're gonna end up putting in here. And then we'll do social studies. And then again, you're gonna go ahead and write all your students' names. For sake of time, I am gonna just come grab it from over here. We'll grab a few. Okay, and then domains. So that's like your subcategories within each standard. So again, for math, you have things like your base 10, your fractions, your measurement and data. So, and these are going to end up grabbing right from Common Core state standards, or again, whatever your state or curriculum, whatever, is using. I am going to go ahead and reset these because we'll go over some tricks on how to color code. Now, so basically what those two tables just did, the subject and the domain, they created the drop-down menus here, and this is where you're really using them and assigning a subject, domain, and standard. So because we didn't know how many you guys would need for each, that's why you kind of have to do this step. But so I just really want to highlight, for every standard that is within operations and algebraic thinking, however many standards in that domain, that's how many times they're technically going to come up on this list to generate proper drop-down menus. So just to give you an example, like for this one, they have 3 standards within operations and algebraic thinking. So that's on that list 3 times. It won't be other times. We just had to actually assign it somewhere. So for sake of this video, I am just gonna go ahead and grab these, dump these guys on over. Now, I will say too that you really have to make sure, so if you want all your maths to be the same color, like what I did, I just went to ChatGPT and was like, give me 3 colors of every color of the rainbow in pastel, and it like is gradually getting lighter. And that's how I got these color codes. You will have to end up color coding more than once. For example, you're gonna have to come over here and you'd grab, oh, that looks like the second red. I'm not gonna sit here and do the whole thing with you guys with that. But again, you would have to color code a lot of this, your subjects and your domains if you really wanted them. But keep in mind, these do not generate colors on these drop-down menus. So you would have to literally go from here. Let me actually just grab the color code on this red because I'm not sure that I saw it. And then I'd come over here and we're gonna go boom, boom, got it. And then, so for the second one, which I think is, ooh, silly girl. Okay. I think it's this one. Okay. It's not, that's a shade off, but are we gonna pretend to be okay with that? We'll try it one more time for sake of like cutesy aesthetic of the video. This shit this one, it's that one. Okay, so just keep in mind, these reds will not generate on these drop-down menus. The drop-down menus, you need to go back in individually, and then you would need to change the color codes here. Now, and then again, when you're done, you're just gonna say apply to all. I'm just gonna switch the color real quick so you guys can see what that looks like. But again, we're not doing that. Goodbye. Again, just make sure you're clicking apply to all. And then from here, what I would do is make another copy. So I'm going to call this one MP4 since it's the end of the year. Ready, we'll make this copy. All right, and then from there, okay, we have our setup tab. I would then end up going back and renaming all of these tabs. And remember too that you could change the color of these to even match as well. But so I would end up changing all these subjects to match and changing the colors personally. Then you're gonna go ahead and click your subject here. And then for your students, it is a drop-down menu, but again, as soon as you start typing in a student's name, it can just do it for you. We'll do just a few to, let's see, is there any H's? Okay. Now what you're gonna do, you're gonna add your roster for that class, and then we'll just say we're gonna enter an assignment. We'll call this assignment 1. It was assigned today, and this was in math. So because we selected math here, it knows to only generate domains that were assigned for math. And then from here, it knows to only generate the standards from the domain. Oh, one thing we didn't go back, Laura, you might need to chop this. But again, we talked about this before. If you wanted to change this up to mastery or reverse it, you could. You just need to make sure you're changing the numbers, not the colors. I personally like doing prompting because I almost think like a numerical grade and mastery kind of go hand in hand. And the point is I want to see what they got with that grade and how much help. Like, did they do it independently or with a lot of help? So again, I would just then go ahead and put the numerical grade. Let's say that Joe is my student that is getting really high grades, but again, overall, he's getting a lot of help. And then let's say Maria, she's pulling 90s at a independent level, but then we got Liam over here who's got like 68, but again, he's doing it by himself. So is he at mastery yet? No, but he's on his way. And then Lucas, we'll say that this is our guy he's doing pretty great and he's not getting as much support as before. So again, I love this because it's going to show you your class average per that assignment and the level of support they needed. So if you notice that it was a really high support level, then you might need to go back and reteach that, whatever it is. Okay, so again, for sake of this video, we're just gonna call this assignment 2. We'll give it a date, and then domain, we'll do measurement and data. And then again, my Joe has a 4 and he got a 100. And then Maria, she needed a little help with this, but she was crushing it. And then Liam also needed a little help, but getting better. And then Lucas, he's staying about the same. Okay. Now, again, you'd keep doing this for every student. I believe you can do up to 50 students, and you can literally have up to 50 different assignments if you really wanted to. And then we also did 2. This is really cool because so within the domains, this is looking at the whole class. So for the 2 that we did, fractions, I can tell half my class is at an independent level and the other half needs a lot of support. And for measurement and data, same exact thing. So this is really just looking at your domains, all the standards within a specific domain, and then it's going to be calculating how many students are at independent, versus high support. And then I can close that down if I want. Just remember that it's here because I feel like it's easy to forget. And then this breaks it down by specific standards. So again, this is a more summarized version of this. So again, I don't want to sit here and make you guys watch me fill out grades forever, but again, the point is that you would keep doing this. You would keep selecting a subject. Remember that once you select a subject, it's going to affect which domains, and then thereafter standards. I personally, you can see in the example that I went crazy with my color coding here. I really didn't do it in here because I knew that everything was math already. So I did not see the need to go back and change all these drop down color menus. I just didn't this is enough of a differentiator for me.
Hey guys, it's Laura, just hopping in really fast. I wanted to go over changing the numbers here for the different prompting levels or mastery levels, whatever you decide. So let's say we do 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you'll change the numbers, but not the colors. And if you like, you can change the header here, and that will change the headers for the rest of the spreadsheet. And you can obviously change the names and the descriptions. You do not need to change the colors on the student report here. They will change automatically. However, the colors here will not change. You don't need to do anything with this. I'm going to take a look at it and try and see if I can have this be automated, but you will not need to change any colors on this tab. The assignment tab, these are also automated, and you do not need to change the colors on the class mastery overview. Where you will need to change the color manually is on the subject tabs. So we'll go over to the first subject tab here. And if you go to the edit button in any of the drop-down menus, you can change the colors here. So I'll make the 1 a dark green, then a light green, a yellow, and red. And then when you click done, you'll click apply to all, and it will change the entire tab. And then just repeat that process for the rest of the subject tabs.
All right, ready? Let's generate a student report. We didn't actually grade anything for Ava. Let's get Maria. So you'll see that you have up and down the side again, you have your collapsible, they would be subjects on this one. You don't need to type in any of these headers. Notice how we got to this page and whatever Maria actually was graded for her, it just auto-populated. There's really nothing else that you would need other than collapsing and expanding subjects as you need them. That's basically the only thing. And if you wanted to add some notes here at the end, I did just want to say too that there are up to 10 different standard summary boxes. You'll notice that again, it's going to show it by domain and then standard, and it really should be doing it in whatever order that it was entered in the gradebook, I believe. So again, this is going to give you all assignments relating to, I'm going to jump back and forth in between the examples so you guys can see it more. But again, I think we already talked about this a little bit. This is really showing you domain, standard, all of the assignments relevant to it, and then it's giving that an average prompting level and an average grade. This is for Ava's performance across all the standards in math. And again, I can just collapse what I do and don't need, but say that, ready, you're like, oh, why is there only one student report? Don't worry, you can very much duplicate this tab, and I'm gonna rename it to, I don't even remember some of the kids that are in here. Let's pick a name first. Joe. Okay, so ready, I would rename this to Joe B. And then for, again, everything that he has graded is going to auto-populate into whatever subject accordingly. And oh, again, you can just keep, if you want to have the student report always ready and on hand, you can just keep duplicating this one, keep it blank so that you duplicate as many as you need for your kids. I love this. I think this is literally as you're writing your report cards, and if you're stuck between a 3 and a 4, or 2 and a 3, this is a really amazing tool to say, you know what, they really struggled in the beginning, but they ended up getting a lot better. This really allows you to see that. And again, just overall patterns that we've talked about before of okay, this is really high scores, and they're pretty independent too. But if we were to go to someone like Johnny, high scores, but highly supported. The student report is like, an in-depth version of why they got to the report card of this. So I just absolutely love this. I really hope that this helps you guys as much as I know it's going to help me. This was super highly requested, and I can't wait for you guys to try this one out.